Well, hi, welcome to episode 3 of B2B OS Live. I'm Nigel Main. I'm the founder of salesXchange. And what we're doing is we're talking about B2B new business practices and why they don't work, or maybe why they've stopped working. But pretty much however you see this. I've got to stop something just right before I continue, because one of the things, doing live shows is always one of those. It's one of those things. Sometimes it can go really well, and you do all the tests beforehand. You check everything. It's all, and trust me, anybody that does live stuff uses a teleprompter. Honestly, they do, because there's no way you can keep that continuity going. So you've got to have something to keep you on track. So I do use teleprompter, of course I do. So what you do first off, you switch everything on, make sure everything's working. Go, it's great. Happy days. Start streaming, and your teleprompter slows down. I could go off and have a cup of tea now and wait for this thing to catch up. But what I might do, let me just try something. I had to do this last time as well, and I thought it was fit. I thought it'd been sorted. So bear with me. So let's say we get on with that. So, one of the things about this, you have to bear with me, won't you? So what we're doing, we want to talk about, or what we are doing is talk about new business. And so if you're looking at how business may or may not have slowed down, you see me, I'm recovering now, yeah? You might be aware of low business results or poor traction. But ultimately, what I want to do is to talk about why I think things have gone wrong for us who sell B2B, and also to show you what we've designed, because we've built a new business operating system specifically for B2Bs. But I'll come on to that later. That's not as important. But I've titled this episode B2B Enterprise Buyers Do Not Behave Like Consumers. And you go, well, that's pretty obvious, but it's not. So the thesis is consumer behavior has distorted how B2B go-to-market, or should I say the B2B go-to-market strategies and tactics and the architecture, but no one's actually noticed, or no one's been noticing. And let's face it, most people have a pretty good idea about marketing. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of marketers out there. You kind of could say, well, everybody's a marketer these days. However, every single one of them fall into one of two camps. They either do business to consumer, or they do business to business. So I probably like you, I can say I am an expert consumer, because if I see something and I like it, I'll buy it. Or I'll desire it, one or the other. But, and it's a big but, as a business owner, I absolutely do not have the same feelings about tech, SaaS and services. Or anything that's connected to my business as I do kind of looking at my, you could say, consumer desires. So yeah, of course, I like the latest technology, but that's personal. My business uses a variety of products that make it and help it function in the direction that I want it to go. So I would never think that a SaaS platform of any description would make my business look attractive or cool. So when it comes to the strategies and tactics of B2B marketers, do you know where they're pulling their strategies from? Well, it's from the consumer pool of ideas, because it's not the B2B ideas. So it's coming from consumer, and you've got to keep that logic in the back of your mind just for now. So now that bit's out of the way, because it's really important to understand where this is being framed. So what I want to ask the question, or I want to ask this kind of, is why is there such a constant disconnect with understanding, or with the understanding of how businesses buy? You have to think about that. I mean, personally, I think it's because MarTech developers who listen to marketing people in the B2B space keep saying the same thing over and over. And that is, they believe business buyers buy in the same way and for the same reasons as consumers do. But with a tiny, tiny amount of research, you know, the kind that you actually ask a business owner and directors the question, how do you buy and why do you buy? You'll very quickly find out that we, and I have to put myself in the same category, we have all been getting it woefully wrong. So let me just need to try something, see if I can speed something up a little bit, because it's kind of one of those things that is a bit awkward for me. Let me just put these on. I have to either look at the software. I mean, it could be a software update. It could be a operating system update, as in Apple. I don't know. We'll have to see. But what I actually think is that the problem is, the reason they don't ask the question is, I think they're frightened. I mean, you wouldn't think so. You would think that's a daft supposition. But think about this. They are constantly trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And I perceive that the people who have been developing or have developed the software, or the product marketers and so on, they don't want to be proven wrong. I mean, it could be that they've had it so good for so long, so why change? And by that I mean they're simply selling the same platforms to consumers as they are businesses. And I mean, I have to call this out as it is. B2B marketers have done nothing to change it and to put it right. And they're still holding ABM summits and trying to justify the previous 10 years or so. So I see the disconnect really clearly. And the MarTech SaaS companies, if you see it this way around, MarTech SaaS companies have a relationship with CMOs and senior marketers within the B2B space. The CMOs and B2B marketers, they are MarTech's customers, not the CEOs. So they are definitely their advocates. And because it's not the CEOs, certainly not the salespeople. And this is the way it rolls. So the CEO has to agree to incur all these ongoing costs. And gradually, over this time, well, we all know marketing has cornered more and more budget, to the point where in most cases, sales haven't got any budget at all. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you see marketing provides attribution reporting and states they're achieving their so-called targets. And meanwhile, sales are floundering. Yeah, I mean, targets not getting target, not doing target, not getting any near to it. The pressure's on. But as a result, I got cold called this morning. Salespeople have to revert to cold calling, which is like 300 or 400 to one shot, because they have to get appointments. Yeah, they have to get appointments. I mean, if you look at this, let me just put this up. Yep, marketing's broken, so we're gonna fix it. We are fixing it. We've done this. But if we look at this, one here. This on the left, I'll just make this line. I'll just come off the screen a second. So this on the left-hand side, you can see where it says cold calling. I'm pretty sure I can do the laser pen. Yep, there you go. Up there, cold calling. Look at the date. 1950s, 1960s, telesales, cold calling. We've not moved on in 50 years, and that's a critical problem. You go, well, we've always done it this way. You know, businesses, especially enterprise, we've been told, well, enterprise buying is all committee driven and it's risk managed and so on. And there are a growing number of people going, wait a second, this kind of ABM type thinking is wrong, and I'm definitely one of them, because buying's not complicated. But it's the people who put these obstacles in the way of actually helping people buy. And in my opinion, they do it as a mechanism just to get that attribution, because it ain't helping the buyers. And I mean, if you, like me, I've been doing this for decades. And so as a CEO and involved in sales, yeah, you know, one knows the CEO's timeline, because it's I know it because that's how I buy. And so it takes about 6 months, give or take. But if you look at the you look at this one, this slide here, there's our kind of exposed information. You've got mission, strategy, and tactics on the left, and then you've got that dotted line, which is the transition between them learning and buying. And then you've got these 6 sales stages across the top. But all in all, that whole time period, for you know, if your sales stage, if your sales lead time is about 9 months, then it stands to reason 86%, which is the figures that the likes of Gartner come out with and so on. And so, well, that's like nearly 5 years before they speak to anyone, depending on obviously on the size of what needs to be purchased. But there's a silent conversation going on, and really, it starts off with, and it has to start off with, you discovering them. And so that's where the problem is. You know, so we've still got the whole business strategy, you know, the tactics and ops and so on. But it's this silent period that causes the big problem. And so at the end of the day, when you get to a point where you're crystal clear that things are not happening the way that you want things to happen, I think that any business who is trying to communicate to prospects, if you're being forced down this path, it ain't going to happen. You're not going to get the levels of business that you want. You're never going to get the traction. You're never going to get the engagement from them. And the way I see this, if anybody that is looking to recommend some kind of new way of working, you've got to get this inside out. They have got to get it on the, you know, they've got to know it on the inside out. Otherwise, you could say there's not a hell's chance, a hope in hell's chance of getting anybody on side. So this isn't about me looking at just selling a platform. It's about getting this kind of, I suppose, collective agreement to say, do you think it's wrong? Because I know it's wrong. I know it doesn't work. Do you know it doesn't work? And once you start thinking, actually, well, yeah. Because first of all, trying to speak to a company, you don't know where they are. And so first there's like this prolonged period of time when the business grapples, you could say, with a problem. And we both know, sooner or later, the solution reveals itself. And it takes as long as it can take. I mean, there could be a financial thing holding them back, or a practical reason or practical thing holding them back. I just need to make an adjustment. Because this, you would never realise how frustrating it is when you're trying to make things happen effectively or smoothly, and things are stopping and slowing down. You end up like free-forming because you've got the teleprompter gradually, it's just slowing down, and it's like, oh, this is madness. Can't have that. Let's put that up to there, see what happens. Go on there. So we said that this is about to communicate how we've defined this. So, firstly, there's a prolonged period of time when you see it seems to be working a bit quicker. So you'll notice when I speak quicker, I talk quicker. His teleprompters must have caught up with him. So business grapples with a certain problem. Sooner or later, it reveals itself, and it doesn't. Nobody can define how long that's going to take. So it could be a practical thing holding them back. Nobody knows, yeah? But nevertheless, they arrive at this point here. Yeah? And so you could say that's when they become acutely aware of the problem. And then we, as directors, we decide how we're going to deal with it. So after this kind of indeterminate time, we get to this kind of month one discovery period, when we as a business find the person that we might want to buy from. Could say where you are now, but so to keep the parties right, I'm going to refer to them, the prospects, as them. So you and I are working together, so we're going to be talking to them. Yeah, we call them our prospects. So our market begins to notice something different appearing in their online feed, and say on LinkedIn, for example. So they see the documents, LinkedIn assets, live stream invitations, yeah, and the repeated messaging around this, our new product or old product, and in our case, it's this new business architecture. But they don't do anything. They just look. Yeah, and they might look at PDFs, open PDFs, look at certain sections. Yeah, they might even read executive summaries, that type of thing. They could visit the website once or twice. Nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. And our numbers absolutely reflect this perfectly. I mean, we started, you may well have seen them. So we've been promoting a series of PDFs. So we've had nearly 400 document downloads in 4 weeks. So that shows this early discovery behaviour, but not conversion, just evaluation, just recognition. Yeah. And then it kind of moves on to this kind of intellectual curiosity, you could say. So this is the point when a market becomes a bit more attentive. And some people think, well, okay, this is a bit different from the kind of the usual advice. I mean, like marketing advice, for example. But our prospects start consuming more content. And the typical behaviour could be looking at different PDFs, live streams, more time on the website, revisiting it. So you've got more repeat visitors on the website. Again, that's what we're seeing. Checking out a LinkedIn profile, whether it's personal or business. So at this stage, they're not evaluating us just yet, but they're evaluating the idea, not the people. So we then get to this point, which is this inflection point. So I think, our thesis is pretty clear that the go-to-market infrastructure problem is architectural, not operational. And that idea alone is causing different leaders to stop and think, well, what's going on here? I mean, it's great, but what is your thesis? What is your purpose? What is your reason for letting them in? Yeah. So we've got to position ourselves as a selling company to have enough information so that they feel comfortable around us on our site and so on. So that just cuts out reverse IP lookup and lead scoring and saying, oh, you've been on our website, let's give them a call. That cut, just no, stop. Don't use that at all. Switch it off. So then we've got, it moves to this, you could call it like an internal comparison. So this is when things get a bit more interesting. So some people begin comparing what you're saying, what we're saying. You know, we're talking to these prospects, right? So they begin comparing what we're saying with what's going on inside their own organisation. They start asking themselves questions like, so why is this happening? Or you could say, well, in our case, people look at it and go, so why is our annual recurring revenue full-time equivalent declining? Why do we keep adding more MarTech? Why are BDRs constantly struggling to get meetings? Yeah? And we have this. Oh look, I've conveniently put the slide in there that says that these are the 3 documents that we've got. And one of them is an audit document that speaks directly to this stage because it reframes the problem. So we say most go-to-market engines or GTM engines fail due to architectural misalignment rather than execution failure. And because of that, you've got this, I suppose it's this change, isn't it? It's a change going, well, everyone's been doing the same thing for 20 years. Do what you've always done, get what you've always got. Nobody's come up with anything different. We are at a point where everybody's just accepted it. Well, it is what it is. We can tickle along. I mean, even if you look at the reports done by, I think it's GP Bullhound, you look at their reports on the SaaS market and what's happening. 2 years running. Nothing's changed. You know, massive amounts of money is being spent to generate new business, and it's stripping out everything else, but it's not happening. And it's not happening because there is this mismatch. And that's why we've done the revenue reset. We've done the landscape and the audit. But you've got to think about it. You have to think about not just the general problem, but with what we're doing. So we're saying, right, here's the information. Have this on us. We don't want your email address. We're never going to call you. We're never going to pest. Nothing. Not ever. Because that's what we want. We want businesses to look at what we've got, what we've got on offer. Download the documents, read it, learn it. We don't need to say who we are. We don't need to say, oh, you need my email address. The email and address and phone number and everything, it's on the documents. So, we're kind of just acknowledging a situation. They've read it. They'll eventually get back to us because if it resonates, they will. And it doesn't matter what we're selling or what you're selling. If your product and your conduct resonates with them, they'll get back in touch with you. So I just think that it's this typical issue. When buyers start applying your thinking to their own company, that engagement. Yeah, that engagement just it's like if you look at the signals, you've got the multiple downloads, repeated website visits, longer live stream viewing, and possibly following you on LinkedIn. And here's the thing, this is the kicker, which is what most people don't get. They're still anonymous. They're still quiet. Yeah, but they're you could say they're mentally. You say that kind of in nicely. They're mentally engaged. So that brings us on to, where are we here? Silent shortlisting. Now I say month 4 here, but it could be very easily month 10, 12. Who knows? Yeah, and the point is that they could park it. Something more urgent could have come up, like it always does. But this is probably the most misunderstood stage in B2B buying, because buyers have already decided the direction of thinking they agree with. The direction of thinking. Now they're going to start evaluating who represents that thinking. And so at this stage, they start asking, well, is this person or company credible? Do they actually understand this field? I mean, is it just a blag, or in our case, it's all about new business development, go-to-market transformation and revenue operating systems. And most likely they're thinking, I wonder, could this approach or this particular product work in their company? And it's kind of at this point, because we've got this situation here, which it becomes, especially in this market, there's a lot of confusion there, because there are something like 30,000+ SaaS platforms. This is excluding the AI side of things. So it's 30,000 SaaS platforms, and it's risen from like 150 however many years ago it was when Chief Martech did this. But 15,000, as it stands at the moment, there are 15,000 marketing SaaS offerings. So you would be forgiven for not quite knowing what's the right thing to do. But if you think about this, they might now watch full live streams. They might read the entire document series, if you've got one. And by this time, I guess you probably will have. And they want to explore your product somehow. And in our case, B2Bs want to explore the new business operating system and platform, which is available on the website and so on. But and you'd have the same too. So you'd have video and product explanations and all the other information. And then they'll review your background. Here we go again. They still won't contact you. Senior buyers, like you and I, we always avoid any kind of premature conversations, and it leads us up to this kind of internal trigger, because we don't need to be told by some salesperson what to do. Something happens. Typically, something inside the company happens. Board pressure, I don't know, growth. A department, or again, in lots of cases, marketing spend is spiralling, more under scrutiny again. The pipeline's low. Declining conversion rates could be. Leadership restructure, who knows? But when that trigger occurs, the material that you've been distributing suddenly becomes relevant, because the thinking has already been absorbed. And this is where it moves from that to the interesting part, which is first contact. And this is where the first conversations appear. And that could be, I don't know, we all know the score. I mean, it could be LinkedIn, email, an intro from somewhere, or a strategy call request. And ultimately, they book a meeting online. And we've got a thing called SX Connect for that, which structures and schedules meetings and everything to do with the meeting. But typically, the message often looks like a kind of, and you'll know where I'm coming from. We've been following your content for a while, but that sentence, we've been following it. That is the hallmark of a thought leadership driven process. So they didn't discover you yesterday. They've been looking at you and watching you for months. And what I've said is not out of the ordinary. And it doesn't assume that some target company needs to be sold to. So let's get our salespeople on it. My 40 years experience says salespeople are not driving close rates. The buyers are. They always have. You know, we're not selling double glazing or conservatories. But what is happening here is success happens when information and timing and open access engagement, and when they all converge. And that's why I say, because of the structural failure of go-to-market, it has contributed to the way in which all businesses communicate. And I think that this is what's led to this kind of lead capture obsession, and even the marketing qualified lead illusion, which is what I call it. And I'd say the imposition of friction heavy journeys that start with demanding someone's contact details, which we as CEOs, we won't give out as a matter of course. Well, I won't. I'm sure you wouldn't. But if you think about this, I was having a conversation earlier. So you go shopping, you're out with your partner, and you want to go into this shop, and you get to the door, you've got your hand on the door, and someone walks up and says, oh, they open the door and go, well, come in. And you put your foot over the threshold and say, before you go any further, would you give us what's your name? Okay, and your email address? Okay, and where do you live? And your phone number, and a mobile, please, as well. You'd walk away. You'd walk away. And if you notice with typical consumer sites, oh, Sam, you don't need to you just go on them, and here we've got these pictures and multiple pictures, and you can spin things around 3D and so on. The picture gets you to want, desire and buy. Same with typical shops that you walk into. Just come in, it's lovely ambience, blah, blah, blah. Go to a business website, give us your inside leg measurement. Big problem. So the thing is, if that's the sequence of events, and that we as CEOs or business owners or founders agree, because we've always behaved this way, it stands to reason that it's going to be the same for any of the prospects that we're trying to sell to. So if we behave this way, they're going to behave the same way. So it doesn't matter where they are in their sales stage. So this is where it gets very clear as to what we have to do. Because we've all started businesses already. And you could say, like, whilst hindsight is a wonderful thing, we've got to work with what we've got. So if you have a look at this, there we go. That's where we are now. And you could say, well, if you imagine this is your big, enormous, massive total addressable market, your TAM, and these people on here, just next to them, if I just move the old laser pointer, these people here are the people that are going to be in the market. You think, well, how do you know that? Well, there are 212,000 businesses that have got 10 to 50 employees, 36,000 that have got 50 to 250, and another 8,000 that have got 250 and above. So give or take, if you're looking for the upper end, 46,000 businesses of 50 employees and above. Of those businesses, why do I say there's that percentage, that's 1,600? Because if we look at our good old technology curve and we look at the innovators and early adopters, that's what they represent. And the innovators and early adopters, like you and I, we keep our eye open. We see what's going on in the market because that's our nature. So as a business owner, we read business books, right? We just keep abreast of things because it's our nature in tech, SaaS or services. It's just how we do things. And we fall into that first 16%, which is there. So if we're going to take a subset, so we're going to say, okay, well, there's 250,000 businesses in the UK. I'm pretty sure 10,000 would be our total addressable market. The fact that we now know it's 10,000, that's great. And what is happening right now is this. Most businesses have people that do telesales. And here we got 400 to 1. So why'd you say 400 to 1? Well, actually, it used to be 100 to 1. And it crept up, kept creeping up. Come lockdown, it went up to 500 to 1. So I've dropped it back down again. Some people say it's still 500 to 1. Of phoning someone and finding out that they're interested in talking to you, taking it further. And that's the critical problem we've got. Your total addressable market is 10,000 people, and you're trying to find the subset of the 1,600 by phoning them one at a time. Now you know why it's 400 to 1. Because when you do phone people, they've gone to the loo, gone to lunch, got a sandwich, in a meeting, not in, working from home. I mean, big issue, can't contact them if you're working from home. And any number of different, I'm not going to call them excuses, they are genuine reasons why you can't phone them and get in touch with them. And then you've got the phoning people on mobiles, and you realise, how did you get my mobile number? And you realise that the consumer market are mapping consumer data with business IP data. So you go onto someone's website, they match up your IP to a consumer purchase that you may have made, and then they've got your email, your email and your phone number. And that's why they phone you on your mobile. So these are activities of desperation. So we're going back to this. The bottom line is if you can only contact them one at a time, it's a mug's game. So I've got an interesting analogy. I talked about this with my wife the other day. Interesting analogy. How do you get famous? Because that's what you want. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants to be famous so that they generate more revenue and more information and yada, yada, yada. So how do you get famous? Well, you've got to sell lots of stuff or be visible, really. And so if you look at the music industry, it's like a music industry analogy. So these different groups, yeah, they get together. They start playing in pubs. Play to their mates, playing in pubs. And we know, we've seen it, heard it everywhere, yeah? Escalates. It escalates. You know, they end up playing support for someone to playing in stadiums. And you're thinking, well, how does that connect with what we're doing? Well, you want constant visibility. You want constant. You have always wanted. We have always wanted this visibility mechanism. It's the most important. But like consumer, like the whole consumer industry, what do? They go on television. Why? Because they can reach millions of people, and they get a percentage of those millions of people buying their biscuits. I don't know, whatever. And how do they do that? Well, when you go to Tesco's or whoever, your eye level is where you see in the biscuits because you saw them yesterday on the television. That's how it works. But for B2Bs, we're screwed because we haven't got this mechanism to reach out to lots and lots of people. Because I mentioned, you've got to reach 10,000 people. How are you going to do that? So to get this constant visibility, you've got to do something quite special. And you would think, well, it's impossible because they're not going to do television. Here's a small selection of some of our posts. we post just under 500 posts a month. So we started off with these looking like this, and now they look like this. And you can see they're not all the same, but these are the posts that promote the PDFs I was talking about before. But the bottom line is that you haven't just got scale and reaching out to lots of people. You've also got repetition. You must have repetition, because you're watching a show, a television show, or film or whatever. Adverts come on. But it's repetition. Repetition, repetition, repetition. And the repetition within the business environment and okay, the animal kingdom as well. But repetition, if it doesn't kill you, it's probably safe. So you think what you're doing is okay because no one's died. But the bottom line is the repetition that we're doing is repetition that relates to the consumer industry, not the business industry. So we have a plan. So what we do. So repetition is the key to success, or key to sanity and success. But because it is. Otherwise, you're square peg round hole. Do what you've always done, get what you've always got. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. All these analogies exist because there's a problem. There's a massive problem out there. And so what we do is we produce multiple posts that I say get around, but if you just posted the same thing day in, day out, it would get pulled by any of the social platforms because you're spamming it. But we don't spam because we have a mechanism that we put in place that if even I'd say so myself, it's very clever. That's what we do. We've got 2 call to actions. I'll show you how we do it in a second. We've got 2 call to actions on on those pages. One promotes the PDF, and the other one says I'm doing a live show. And just those 8, there's 240 posts, plus all the other stuff we've got. So we have a dual call to action. The next thing, the way we build it is like this. It's in 3 layers. We use scripting, different software layers, multiple different platforms. But basically, we use an LLM, we use ChatGPT, that generates the text, and we construct that image. You can see it's in 3 layers on the left, and on the right is what it creates. Creates 30 of them, 1 per day. Times 8, 240. And they get structured using an API, and you can use any platform. And you've seen the auto posting platforms, like I put them down there just to remind me. So you've got Buffer, Hootsuite, Social Pilot and Sprout Social, and we use a platform called Recur Post. So our automation, our system, and I'll show you how we do it, automates all of this. But it's not your typical AI automation. We've got this kind of completely blended, and we've built an OS. The OS is a selling OS. It's not. You don't confuse it with marketing. It's a sales and exposure operating system. It's to generate new business. We call it new business operating system. Yeah. Because it's all about, a business is all about new business. And you're not a social service. You're there to generate revenue, generate profits. And we have a platform that enables us to do that. It works hand in glove with an LLM. It generates the information, generates the consistency. This is an input screen. That confirms, you can see there on the bottom right, that confirms that it's been generated and processed. It's grayed out, but the big green button, process it, get it sent, and it appears. But the thing is, what I was saying before is that if you want to try and reach that market, how are you going to do it? It's impossible. Unless you've got a mechanism that actually addresses it and says, okay, now I know how to do that. So this process here And this image, that image at the bottom there, that is a social post. Choose your social platform. So we're talking LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X. I think that's it. All of them, all at the same time. So you're suddenly scaling up your visibility. Set it and forget it. That's the key. Do it once, leave it. And as a result, you generate thousands and thousands of impressions every month. Per person. So you might have an account, you have a company account, you'll have different people involved in sales, you'll have different people on your board. Multiply 1,000. It's a nice simple number. 1,000 times the people that would be happy for you to put this on their LinkedIn posts. 1,000 times that many people per week. 10% of them will engage. You've just changed everything. And the critical thing, the absolutely critical thing here, that absolutely unequivocally states selling is a numbers game. If you don't have access to the biggest number, your effort's a complete waste of time. Yeah, of course you'll get some business. You can beat your salespeople up. You can crack the whip with a load of BDRs. You can try and do whatever. Go and do exhibitions. Try. We all know what a pain. But unless you're reaching and connecting with your total addressable market and enabling those people to self-segment and go, do you know what? I quite like the look of that company. I'll have a look at that. I'll have a look again. Yeah. So we've started with the first phase of this, which is the social side. The next side of it is this: we've got to message them as well. So if you know, you can buy a database today of your total addressable market. I think between 100 and 300, maybe £100, £300. Depends where you go to, but between 100 and 300 pound per thousand. Call it £3,000. So £3,000, and you'll get a 10,000 name database of your total addressable market. Not complicated. Email them and say hi. But you're not just emailing them. I'll come back to this in a second. You're also going to put ads on LinkedIn. And if you look at this one here, we've got the purple tabs. One is social, one is email, one is banner. So you reach out to them on social, you message them direct on email, and then you appear in their feeds, on their news feeds, with a banner. Not complicated. You just accessed and have started engaging with your total addressable market, because the same database that you've got is called a matched audience. You upload the same database to LinkedIn, and they will put your feeds, your banner adverts, and get them onto the news feeds of the people with those matching email addresses. Bingo. You just achieved what the consumer market is doing. But it is so focused. It's so focused. And it's proper set and forget. It's a combination of scripts and software and APIs and so. But we've brought all this together. And like I was saying before, that 1%, all we want is 1%. And I just looked at that slide and gone, that 1% was really tight before. It's not anymore, but it doesn't matter. But 1% of your total addressable market, that's what you want. We'll have that. Thank you very much. So you can see how this breaks down. I mean, okay, 1 to 9, you've got nearly 6 million businesses, 1 to 9 employees. But looking at the business market, There we go. We've got 2, 12, 36 and 8. So 10,000 is nothing really. And so what does this all lead to? It leads to this. This is the most exciting screen that a CEO can ever look at. That tells you, put my glasses on because I do know what it says. You've got social, email, banner and live. All the activity that happens on LinkedIn, so you've got streaming that's happening, you've got social posts that are happening, you've got banners that are happening, information goes into BigQuery, which is Google database, you probably know, goes into big emails, your ESP, your email service provider, all the open data and transaction, all the ongoing data from that goes into BigQuery. Your banner adverts on LinkedIn or wherever, through the API goes into BigQuery. Live streams, this live stream. So you can stream not just on LinkedIn, but stream on YouTube as well. All the data goes into BigQuery. Any activity and all the activity that's happening on your website goes into BigQuery. So anytime as a CEO you look at that and go, oh look, it's gone up by 1.24 million this week, happy days. You have to think about this. This is an operating system designed for selling. I don't care about marketing. Not interested. Not interested at all. Marketing for consumer, be it for the consumer industry, happy days. We all like it. We all do it. We see it. We engage with it. Doesn't work for B2B. This is by far the most effective, innovative, and I would say staggering platform, because not only does it give you the highlight, tells you what's live and what's happening, tells you what tracks are active and uploaded. It also, I won't go on about this bit because it's a whole show in itself. We've got SX Connect. Someone sees you doing something live, you say, click on the link below, book an appointment with us. You go onto the link, fill out the form and documentation because it's standard information you talk about during a meeting. That information gets processed and passed, PARSED, and our system does the research, delivers all the research and a proposal and a slide deck with a cost comparison to the salesperson in readiness to do the meeting. My work here is done. And the reason it's so significant, and you share this information with any business, any salesperson, they would want to bite your hand off to get this. And the reason you would want it is because it massively reduces your costs, your HR costs, your exposure costs. And the flip side, so you can only save so much money, but that goes as kind of as red. But the exposure opportunities, what you're able to do because of automating this is just absolutely breathtaking. And if you think about your competition, if you want to beat your competition, you've got to look at it. Just look at it. There's no need for any hard sell, nothing. You look at it, nothing exists like it in the world. It's very exciting. And of course, being able to get data like this is what we're doing, this is our exposure and our engagement. Looking at that big number, 10,000, you can see everything that's happening, exactly how this is trickling down. We've always been told, and we tell all our salespeople, sales is a numbers game. Sales is a numbers game. It's a numbers game. The more people you phone, the more people you're going to make, the more yada, 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 yada. It doesn't work anymore. Sales is a numbers game. You must be able to engage with the biggest number. And when you've got all the data delivered to you, yes, you can look at it any time. This, we also use Looker Studio, which means you're going to get emailed dashboard data as well to your board. Very exciting stuff. And there's one last slide. To do this takes some thought, because the marketing industry have succeeded in getting businesses to follow their lead. That must stop. And in order for that to happen, that doesn't happen overnight, because there are a lot of people that not stick in the mud, but they're stalwarts. They want to stay doing what they know. That's how people are. That's how people behave. So we have the reset. This course is an online course, self-paced, 20 modules. Take one of your guys or your people a week to complete. It's 30 hours. It's not indoctrination. It's a re-evaluation of exactly how you sell to businesses, because you have to get that first, and that can happen right now. That's really important for that to happen right now. And then, having seen that and understand the reasoning behind it, and of course, if you've got, say you had 30 people in your go-to-market team, train them all at the same time. So we've done this in advance. We knew it's already selling. People are buying this because they recognise and understand there's a problem that requires a different way of thinking. So we put it in a course. And then when you finish the course, then you can put the system in and everything changes. That's it. Here's the end. We're at the end. Join me next week. We want to, like I said at the beginning, we want to just keep putting this information out there to challenge what's happening, to challenge the thinking processes behind generating new business, tech, SaaS and services related new business. This is not, it's not consumer. There has to be a different way of dealing with this. And for a lot of businesses, imagine you've got a massive mechanism to be phoning people up, and you cut that down, and then you stream to, imagine streaming. I don't know. I never have it on here, so I don't want to know how many people are watching us. But imagine streaming to 20 people every week. I know it's a low number, 20 people. 10 people. To stream to 10 people, you would need 10 BDRs. The maths are not difficult. And we're looking at that 6 month, give or take 6 month process of businesses warming to you. So I'll let you think about that. I think that's it from me. I am going to play the outro. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you next week, same time, same place. Bye for now.
If this changed how you think about GTM, you're just getting started. Explore the full Revenue Reset series and join us live next week.